Madam, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Madam, you can start. Let others join in between.
Right. Is it visible to all? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to have some interaction. I am in Tamil Nadu somewhere away from, even though I belong to Orissa. But it's nice to be with you all, where I learn some of the other things. Okay, so thank you. I will start up with a fresh memory of what I was dealing with before. Okay. So today is my final class, and I feel that yes, somewhere I have been able to help all the teachers in their self development. Well, there are two units today left out. So, to summarize, there were two important things, two important factors. One was understanding your own self and managing yourself. Because as teachers, you play a very major role, very challenging role, very tough role, since you people are also taking the responsibility to build up the future citizens of our country. But somehow people forget to, you know, understand our own teachers, to give respect, or the teachers forget to see themselves, look inside, introspect themselves, because they have been working so hard as a teacher in the teaching profession. Well, so first class I have helped you in understanding interpersonal processes, and then leadership styles, what type of leadership styles you would see or you are already having, or what type of styles you would like to develop in your class hours or with your colleagues or while talking to parents or with the students and all. So, what are the professional values and ethics which you have to follow, whether they are your colleagues or students or parents or stakeholders, which we have finished last week? And this week, yesterday, what I have been, helping you. I cannot say I'm teaching you because you all are, just like our friends, where we belong to the same profession. So now, yesterday, I have helped you to find out the conflict, how many types of conflicts are there, and what is the reason of conflict, how conflict arises, and how you can manage your conflicts. And today, uh, I will be along with conflicts, I was also dealing with stress, like eustress, distress. There are two types of stresses, and how will you manage your stress, how you are going to overcome your stress. Well, there today I am going to deal with the communication skills, which is very, very important for a teacher to communicate with the students. So now, communication skills, taking it as one of the major important part, because it is through communication how we are able to, relate ourselves with others. Decision making and problem solving. These two things I will be talking about today. And again, when I talk about managing the self, here managing the self means managing your own conflict, managing your own stress, taking your own decision, and dealing with your problems. This is what managing the self is. And here we feel that communication skills are of high priority in teaching profession, as it is characterized by high level of human interactivity, And this is followed by the decision making and problem solving skills, which we will be discussing over this session. Oh, sorry. So these are the two units. The first unit is communication skills, and the next is decision making. I will try my best to make you understand, and maybe if you want to interact with me at the end, you people are most welcome. So we will be having a proper end today. So now, when you talk about communication, it is sometimes when I speak, it is communication. Sometimes when I smile, it is also a communication. Or sometimes it is dealt with our own tone. So maybe in the same pace I talk, or sometimes I am very much in a high pitch, or sometimes I speak emotionally, saying that, oh my God, my students have not turned up. What is the problem going with them? And sometimes with some warmth, eye contact. It's not possible in online. That is true because no one is going to show your own face. So sometimes eye contact is not possible in online. I could understand how you all faced problems when you were taking classes in online with your students. Sometimes our bodily tension, gestures, the choice of words which we choose, that all influences the process of communication, which creates an overall communication climate. Now, the school where you are in, which is a very famous institution, there first what you have to do is you have to see what type of communication is seen or run in the environment. Now, in order to give a reflection of it, do an initial reflection on the communication climate in your own school. That will help you a lot while understanding the session. Well, is it positive, negative, or does it have some strands of both? Well, there will be always positive, negative in our lifetime. Usually, I tell my students there's always a day and night because, and there is always happy and sadness. So, I cannot just say that everything will be positive or everything will be negative. And through negative, we try to learn from it. It is not that we are going to criticize what is going on over there, but we learn and we try to adjust with the atmosphere and the environment. Now, just give a small example, which is usually seen with the student as such. After giving an exam, they ask you for more marks, isn't it? Miss, why can't I get here more marks? What happened to, ma'am, please give me this mark. So there was a student. So a class 9 student called Nicholas asked permission to enter the staff room and speak with the geography teacher Sita Chaudhary. The student wants increase in marks in the geography test recently given by the teacher. So kindly pay attention to this scenario because I will be coming across many types of other concern contents where I will be referring this case. So Sita Chowdhury is visibly irritated at this request as she had declared in class that she will not entertain these kinds of requests. She stops Nicholas mid sentence. She doesn't allow him to talk more because she came to know that this is what the boy has come for. As he makes a request and says, I can see you are not interested in your studies, but you're clearly interested in increasing your marks. See how the tone goes, as if I am speaking like Sita Chaudhary. So, in this, Nicholas' face is flushed and his eyes are fearful because it's a staff room. And the teacher speaks to him in this way, in this tone. Sita Chaudhary averts her gaze, refuses to engage further, and turns around abruptly and leaves, saying, my marks need to be earned. My advice is that you ought reject laziness and focus on your studies. Maybe some of you all are doing this. So we cannot encourage this with the students that they come to our staff room to ask for more marks rather than clarifying in the class itself. but how do we deal with it? What type of communication is needed in it? So we will be helping it out. Maybe this scene may uh, give a reference to you, and then we can interact after dealing with all the processes that we come across. So in this, what you have to do is, and the objectives behind this is, you will be understanding the process of communication, how to deal and use it to improve classroom dynamics. You will be learning more about verbal communication in educational context as well as non-verbal communication. And later, you will be knowing how to build up a positive communication climate in your school. So, here, when I talk about the process of communication, like a person called a Good Personality, Adler and Rodman in 2010, what they said in their transactional model of communication, communication is not what we do to others, it is what we do with them. So we just don't do something for them, but we do with them because we interact with them. It is related to them. It is relational in nature, and to use the analogies of dancing. Suppose in dancing, one has to communicate with the other, one step has to be communicated with the other step. So all dancers need to be able to coordinate their movements for communication to be harmonious. So that coordination is needed. If there is a lack of coordination, then the communication is not proper. Even the dance movements will be, you know, rather than harmonious, it will be something opposite to it. Well, every time we find there is always a psychological barrier in communication. Now, what are the types of psychological barrier which takes place in communication? Which may be lack of clarity, we may not know what the other person is trying to say, and we take it in a different meaning and we try to communicate differently. So that is a big barrier. Or we are confused of what the other person or the other group is trying to say. We lack listening. We just listen to something like in the scenario as I have given you before. Rather than listening to Nicholas, Sita Chaudhary has given left and right saying that no, it is not. So we don't trust. So when we don't trust, there is always a barrier. Prejudice, we prejudge. Usually we should not judge. So when we prejudge, we do not get the proper meaning. Dishonesty, emotional insecurity, etc. All the psychological barriers are seen when a communication problem takes place, when the process is not proper. So for this, what we have to do is, if it goes on like this, then we are not taking care of our own self-expression. Now, self-expression comes through communication. If I am going to communicate to you, I should express my own self. If it is very harsh, that if it is very rude, then I'm rude to me also. So, and you are lacking self-expression in the barriers of communication, and you are derailing the communication for which we need to be able to overcome these barriers, which can be done through self-reflection. So, if I ask you, have you sat in front of the mirror for a long time to check how you look, or or how do you dress up? So that is what the first self-reflection should be. How do you adore yourself? And what do you feel? So sometimes when we are in a hurry, we just don't need a mirror to comb our hair or dress up ourselves. We just go off. But self reflection is the first thing which takes place in the mirror. Just do it if you have not done it. So you will be able to reflect your own self. Now, when we come back to different types of communication, it is usually verbal and non-verbal, which we give importance to. Now, are words or verbal communication? Obviously, in verbal communication, the words play a major role, and this is very important. If you say something, you cannot revert back because that's what you have said, and it may give a good relationship or bad relationship upon what you have spoken to. So, a misplaced word. what you do not want to say, but it has been misplaced by a teacher, or a sensitive and tender word by a teacher in difficult situation has the power of becoming the basis of long lasting relationship based on mutual trust. As I was referring yesterday, I met a student who came to me. He was not attending the classes. As a result, he was referred to me by his own mentor, his professor. So the professor said that he is not able to attend the class, neither he has reported to me. So may I know what is the reason behind he's not speaking to me either? So I told the professor, okay, fine, leave him to me. Let me just speak to him. So, to my surprise, he was going on speaking and speaking. I don't know. So, I was very loyal to the person. I did not blame the person of what he has done. Rather than I have asked what might be the problem for not attending the class. So, he felt that someone is understanding me, and yes, he started talking more and more about it. Now, in his talk, he is in an university level, but in his talk, he was referring to a teacher of school level. So he told, ma'am, I wanted to take biotechnology because my biology teacher was very good. Whatever I was responding, she was just appreciating me. So I don't know whether the response was correct or not, but if it was not correct, also, she was correcting and appreciating me. So, see, the career of the student lies with the teacher's communication. So, as because the communication was good with the teacher, he wanted to take the subject as his career. See how much it is related to. Okay. So now the non-verbal communication also accompanies when we speak. So there may be smile, or there may be rude figure or something else. So what type of, although it reveals a lot in non-verbal communication, we are not always conscious of what we are communicating. Sometimes when we speak, our facial expression also have much to speak. So we need to become more conscious to be able to understand what our bodies are saying. Maybe someone is speaking at your back, or someone is speaking or sitting behind you or beside you. So you may not be able to know what the facial expression is or what the non-verbal expression is. So we need to check through conscious way what the other person wanted to tell us. Now, in order to make our verbal communication more effective, so we have to check our self expression first and interaction. How do we interact with you all? So, me, myself, I just wanted to interact with you, but I cannot see you. But even though I feel that I can interact with you in your, even though I cannot see you, even though I cannot hear you, I was so happy when someone said that, yes, ma'am, we can hear. So, that was the happiness that a teacher gets, when a student responds. So our language varies with culture and subcultures that we inhabit. So in a proper classroom, the capacity to draw out children's experiences through verbal dialogues is critical, very critical in a big classroom, because students are of different culture when they speak differently. And I was going through one of the examples if Navodaya, in Navodaya school itself, that there are some culture of students, those who come, those who speak differently, and their language may also hurt others because some people are from different language speaking. So that happens. But how it is to be done and what type of steps we are going to take, I'll just help you out. Now, if you go with the practice, like as you can see in the box here, a useful practice of gaining control over your words is the practice of stepping back. Now, suppose after interaction, you could see the other person is communicating in a different way. You can just step back and feel that what did I say? So, what type of emotion I have expressed? So, where through deep observation, we can become aware of our emotions. If we do not get caught in the vibration of the emotions like anger, irritation, etc., they reduce in energy and power over us, giving us greater control over speech. So we have to check our anger, we have to check our irritation, we have to see whether we are almost interacting properly in order to make our communication more effective. Now, what are the effective ways? How do we improve our verbal communication? It shows that it's very effective. So, I'll help you. How can you improve your verbal communication? The first thing that you have to do is choose words carefully. I give examples in almost all my topics. So here, whatever the type of words you have spoken, again, if I come back to the example of the scenario of the geography teacher and Nicholas, what type of words he was speaking. Yes. So suppose we will see here a student approaches a teacher to tell her that she could not complete her homework. The teacher talks gently, don't worry. Hope all is well with you. Try to complete it by tomorrow. So, obviously, the student will approach you again. Not that I have not completed, but she will say that, ma'am or miss, I have completed. Right? So, another example, if you see when a student does not grasp a concept after repeated attempts of teacher to explain it, the teacher says these words before she can control them. दिमाग नहीं है क्या? You don't have a brain or what? How many times I have been explaining you, still you cannot, see when I am speaking, the tone also differs. Still you cannot understand. What is this? So sometimes the irritation or frustration may come out like this. So I'm not going through those things because I'm just trying to make a tone of what the teacher may be like this, like speaking in this tone. So we have to choose our words carefully and see that we are helping our students to come and ask us, not that maintain distance from us. Now, taking responsibility. As teachers, we do take responsibility, and profession always does allow us to take responsibility. So we can take responsibility for our own messages by altering the language in following ways. Like, see how uh, the statements are followed. Now, it versus I statements. Now, it is very difficult to interact with Mr. Raj. I find it difficult to interact with Mr. Raj. So here you are taking responsibility in the second statement, second sentence, and the first sentence you are giving the responsibility to the other person. Like if I say to my friend or colleague, it's very difficult to deal with you. Yeah. So if I say that, no, I find it difficult to deal in some extent. So the way you speak, the tone or the pitch or the sentence, it says that I take the responsibility, not you. Maybe I am somewhere wrong. Okay. So you versus I statements, you are a very messy student versus I sometimes do not like it when you are messy. See how the statements differ. Like but statements, you are a wonderful student with creative imagination, but you need to be punctual. So sometimes you're appreciating the students and also giving the message that you need to do this. So sometimes questions versus statements also, should we take out our class to the grounds today? Compare this with another statement, let's take the class to the grounds as it is sunny. So every time you see all the statements, you see the second statement as taking responsibility, which a teacher should do, rather than questioning or giving the responsibility to someone else when he or she is a leader there. Now, taking responsibility for your own statements through use of I rather than use of we or one. Now, for example, you can see when a teacher asks, are you comfortable with time limit for the test? Is it okay with 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever it is? It is asked to the whole lot of students over there in the classroom. Now, a student who is popular within class responds, yes. we are comfortable with it, that we has to be avoided. He may be comfortable, but what about others? So this is what we have to teach our students also, where they should also take responsibility of themselves rather than putting it on others or taking it as a whole. Now we should avoid labeling. So sometimes in educational institutions, especially in schools when small children are there, so it is a very major challenge when we do not level or we do not tell people in their own way. Sometimes there are stereotypes, sometimes there are prejudices working in verbal expression. So sometimes we say that padhaku, सीधा, होशियार, बुद्धिमान, कमजोर, all these things are there. But you could see that two things, two words are in red. So some students, someone is studying hard to come out with, तो बहुत पढ़ाकू है क्या? हाँ? हर वक्त पढ़ता ही रहता है. So we should not say like this because we are discouraging the student, or we are keeping a boundary line where the student should not come to us, or else they will be told in this way. Or those who are not studying well or getting less marks, we should not use the words like कमजोर, तो बहुत कमजोर है पढ़ाई में, तुझे और भी पढ़ाई करना है. So such words are not at all appreciable. Like बुद्धिमान, सीधा, होशियार, yeah, people like it, but those two people do not like it. Now, why does it take place among the teachers? Because few teachers are seen with fixed mindset and few teachers are seen with growth mindset. So, if it is fixed mindset, I am a mathematical teacher or science teacher or an English teacher, a Hindi teacher, whatever, I feel this is what is to be done. So, that is fixed. So, teachers who work with fixed mindset often label children according to their abilities and see ability itself as fixed. They go with the marks and all. They don't see the efforts which is seen in the growth mindset of the teachers. So those teachers, those who have a growth mindset, they see abilities of students as capable of growth and appreciate effort of students. In this, if the teacher feels he's a weak student, so the student is also going to feel the same thing. She's a weak teacher. In most of the institutions, whether it is a school or college or university, you will see the students blaming the teacher more. So I didn't get good marks because I could not understand anything what was she teaching or he teaching in the class. So ourselves, we have to change a lot in order to change the students' mindset. So here we say that while communicating with children, it is important that we practice growth mindset rather than fixed mindset. So we cannot appreciate people if we are with the fixed mindset. So we need to know more about others by appreciating it. Now, let's come to. Can you all see? I have come to the. Okay. So maybe I have given the full screen. So here, next is examine presupposition. In our verbal expression, we often make many presuppositions that impede the flow of communication. That was pointed out by Hall and all in 1988. So again, I come back to the scenario one where Sita Chaudhary was saying, I can see you are not interested in your studies, but you are not. So you are clearly interested in increase in marks. So this is a presupposition. You cannot say that the student is not interested in the subject. There is always something where the student feels that something they have gone wrong. If you say that, yeah, you have gone wrong in this, if you're explaining the student, then you can say that, okay, fine, this is what the problem is, next time you do it. But if you say you're not interested and you're only asking for marks, this is not good, because this is a presupposition which you have to avoid. So another such misplaced verbal expression begins with, as you are just not interested in your studies, I'm not going to put in much effort. See, the subject itself says that, okay, the sentence itself gives me the tone, the voice, or the pitch where I am explaining you. So this type of presupposition, you should not examine it, because you can see in this, the way a teacher says, the student also comes back in the same manner. Now, sharing power and control, what is it actually? How you can help yourself? So our language can sometimes be controlling and imposes a solution onto the receiver that is not in accordance with their needs and interests. So sometimes a statement like, I know what is best for you. You must listen to what I am saying. When we were your age, we never did this. Do we speak sometimes? Or did you hear anyone, any of your teachers saying like this when you were a student? So that is where they share the power and the control. That is not to be done. An important part of the art of communication is, you should share power and express equality, not control. So here, when they say that, okay, let's think together, or I would like to know what you think, that shows that you're sharing the power of equality and not control, right? Now, effective non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication also, suppose a student is in the class and he's trying to distract or disturb the class. He just give a stare and say that, come on, that is what. So here, what type of effective non-verbal communication you're supposed to give in the class? So non-verbal communication is also a message that are communicated through non-linguistic means. You're not saying anything, but you're staring. So that itself gives a message that whatever you are doing is not good. So we communicate many wordless, intentionally and sometimes unintentionally, through non-verbal communication. Now, unintentional messages are those that we do not necessarily want to communicate with others. Obviously, it is unintentional. We don't want to communicate, but cannot control their expressions also. Suppose something happens among your colleagues or among the students, a frown face comes unintentionally. You don't want to show that frowning face to anyone, but it comes out. There's a blush coming out. So it depends upon the situation, circumstances, and intentionally, suppose you are doing like a facial expression, soft eye contact, a hard look. It depends upon what type of intentional communication you are trying to. Now, here, let us look at some of the aspects of non-verbal communication and the dynamics within the school and classroom. The first thing is you go with intentional, like facial expression and eye contact. In facial expression and eye contact, yes, a person speaks much through wordless communication, that is known. So sometimes we communicate love, fear, intensity, anger, gentleness, irritation, and also calm through our eyes. When you look at the eyes, you will be having so many expressions. And when we speak or whether we don't speak, that will be giving us the meaning of what we would like to communicate. So the teachers may have to courageously examine the stereotypes, prejudices, and personal preferences and fixed moral positions. So this all are to be blocked, because these are not at all encouraged in any types of communication. The voice, the tone, and silence, yes, all this plays a major role in non-verbal communication. So, a meaning of a simple sentence can change by shifting emphasis from one word to another. See, one word is repeated 4 times. but where you give emphasis matters a lot. So you are doing very well. Here, what I will say is you are doing very well. So here, you are giving importance, not others. You are only giving, not others are doing well. So you are giving more focus means that student, the particular student or the particular teacher is given more focus. So in the second sentence, you are doing very well. So the focus is on action, right? So third is you are doing very well. So focus is on excellence, excellent. So you are doing very well. So that goes with the quality. See, the same sentence is repeated with a different voice or tone that gives much meaning to the student, to anyone who you communicate. So when you communicate along with a facial expression, your tone is also important. Now, if the tone is overly sarcastic or distant or authoritarian or rude, it can be a major barrier in communication. That is true. So, just like the tone and voice, we also read the silence of people. Sometimes among your colleagues or among your students, you can see some are very silent. They don't talk much, or they're keeping a distance. So that also matters a lot in nonverbal communication. They are trying to communicate something by remaining silent even though you are talking to them. Now, body posture and tension. In body postures can have depression and sadness. Suppose a student is walking with with his head, you know, holding low or drooping shoulders like this, or maybe as if he or she doesn't have any energy, or maybe without any interest. He sits in the class or she sits in the class. That also gives much meaning about what he or she is crossing across or having some type of problems among them. Now, excessive comments on the way in which students dress, eat food, shaming the body as fat, thin, dark, etc., and physical emotional violence in any form should not be encouraged. Now, there has been, if you say a fat student, there have been so many legal practices, mostly in the universities and all, where we can see a guide is telling the research scholar, you're just sitting quietly and doing all the work, you're doing it well, but you're growing fat day by day. That fat itself is a body shaming thing. There was a legal practice immediately. The student complained about the teacher saying that the teacher is calling me fat. So the teacher was expelled just because he called his student fat. You know, so there are so many changes taking place within the society where we have to be very, very careful. Like even though you show the student in a non-verbal term, like showing that you are fat, that also is very bad. So we are not supposed to. Neither the what the students dress up or take food, it's up to them. Now, space and distance and touch, that is true. Here, what we say is the study of how we use space is called proxemics. Usually in psychology, we say proximity. Now, gentle and warm touch is also a non-verbal way of creating a deeper connectedness with people. But here, what we say, whether it is school or college or universities, we have to maintain a proper distance between a teacher and a student. So if we are not maintaining distance, there may be an opportunity where the student takes an advantage and the teacher is at fault. So rather than touch also, if you see a student in a very depressed mood or in a sad mood, you're not supposed to go and hug her or him. And if it is an opposite gender, that's it. You are to be blamed. So that happens. So sometimes, as teachers, we have to be very, very careful because teaching is a very sensitive profession. Yes. Now, we will see the communication dynamics in the classroom. So teacher immediacy that creates closeness between teachers and students. What type of immediacy the teacher should uh, take up or go through? The teachers who are pursued with highly immediate, make close eye contact, they look at students while teaching, they ask questions also. So sometimes they feel that they should communicate straight with eye contact, whereas people or teachers with low immediacy or less immediacy or non-immediacy teachers, they are the ones who teach from notes. They don't go for eye contact. They stand protected behind a table or a podium. They don't come in between the students also. But what I feel, I used to, when I was teaching, I used to go in within the students' level and see what they are writing. Students will be also cautious, right? That the teacher may come to me at any time or may ask questions at any time. So here, teacher immediacy is linked with greater cognitive and emotional learning of the students. So the teacher immediacy is one of the major dynamics you can just call it for. Now here, besides this, there is communication apprehension. A type of anxiety develops among the students. So, where the students are not able to communicate, so what type of communication apprehension can be seen? So, as you see in the box here, the communication apprehension may be like internal discomfort. So, it depends upon the teacher, how the teacher is behaving with the student, where the student is internally having some discomfort. And this discomfort raises to fear, warm flush, or terror. There are some students who says that, oh my God, if this teacher comes, I'm really scared. So that is one. Communication apprehension, if it is so with you all, kindly change, because there is changes in generation. We need to see that we are not called as a rude teacher or scary teacher or anything else. Like there is another apprehension called communication avoidance, like they avoid eye contact and interaction. So that also was one of the apprehension. Another, communication withdrawal, like physical or psychological withdrawal. They will not come to the class if they are having some apprehension or so. And over communication, they would like to speak more in a lengthy word, like which has no meaning at all, and it will be a confused message. Neither the student or teacher will understand. So, how to overcome all these things? If we see any of our students coming across all these problems, if they have some type of apprehension, then how do we overcome? It's important for teachers to work on this, their own attitudes. They have to listen to the students more rather than speaking to them. That also happens. And they should learn how to give and receive feedback and create a gender and culturally sensitive psychological climate in the classroom. Now, suppose, as I was giving an example of the student who met me. So he said that, ma'am, I love the biology teacher. He's in an university level, but now he recalls the biology teacher. Yeah. So there, because she was appreciating, she was giving feedback, and the feedback is still remembered by the teacher. So this is how the communication apprehension may take place, and you need to work it out if it is so. Now, teacher attitudes. This is what we are going on with the dynamics, communication dynamics, what we can take care. So, according to the humanistic thinker, he is a humanist, he was a psychologist, Carl Rogers. So, he has told there are three attitudes that create a facilitation of learning and communication in classroom. So, what are they? Realness and genuineness of the teacher, as well as pricing, acceptance, trust, and empathy. So, pricing, acceptance, and trust, that is the second, and empathy in relationship with students. So, sometimes when we see a student with a low grasping power, we should keep ourselves in their shoes in an empathetical way and try to understand what is the problem. So this type of attitudes can be developed by the teachers so that there will be proper communication among them. Deep listening, yes, this is one of the major thing. To be able to listen deeply to students, the teachers must not be in a hurry. You cannot just say that, okay, I've finished my class, just tell me fast, I have to go for another class. So you can give some time later on rather than at that time. So the students' voices deserve to be heard. Then only there will be a proper communication again. So through practice of deep listening, we empty ourselves out and create a space for hearing the voice and suffering of others. So that is what you will be playing a role of a counselor also, because in our profession we give more value to listening than speaking. So here they can be best heard when we can still the noise that is emanating from our own being. So we should stop thinking of ourselves, we should stop talking to ourselves and give more emphasis to the students, those who come to talk to us. Like giving and receiving feedback, I give the example again where the student had spoken about the biology teacher. So the attitude of unconditional acceptance, without any condition, I'm accepting the student, that is very important while giving and receiving feedback from others. As we give feedback to students, they read our intention much more than our words. So when we speak something, the speaking is different. They look at us and they just see what type of emotional attitude we have. It's not only words again. Then relational life position and their influence on communication also plays important role here. As I will take you back to the life position where I have spoken in the first class, I guess. So those life positions where I am okay, you are not okay, all these things. Like if you can remember the life position, it will be flashback now again. So here, sometimes in our relational life position or with our communication, how does it influence? Suppose some students may have the attitude like, I'm not okay, you are okay, fine. So, in a growing individual, how do they assume with this life position is if the parent and other authority figures consistently give the message that you are not okay and need to do better. When I do go for universities and I'm heading a department over here, and today one student came to me for seeking some help on counseling and guidance, where she says that every time, whenever I score well, but my father expects more. I have scored 98% in 10th standard, but still he says, no, it is not good. So here they feel that I'm not always okay. And when I ask any happy moment in your lifetime, she says, no, never I have any happy moment in my lifetime except my academics. Even she got in her master's, she got more than 9 point, but she's not happy. She feels, I'm not happy. I don't know. I'm not satisfied. So this comes when, right from childhood, it has been growing, where the parents make it this life position very common among them, because they, as the authority figure, when they say like this, the students, the words lack confidence. So they say, I'm not okay. Others are okay, right? So this is one life position. Sometimes they say that I am not okay and you are also not okay. There is very stubborn type of people here. Why this lifestyle takes place? Because the growing individual gives up hope that his or her emotional needs will be reciprocated and starts rejecting others also. So maybe there are sibling rivalry which takes place in the family where, they say you're not okay, you're not taking care of your younger sibling also. And the child also gets angry and says that you're also not okay, you're not taking care of me. So sometimes it happens like this and the rejection takes place. And where this life position takes place in the school or colleges or wherever they go, it goes on with them until and unless it is rectified or corrected. Sometimes they feel that I am okay, you are not okay. So here, what they say is they have been abused when they were children. There are many people, it's not that girls, even boys also have got abuses. It may be verbal abuses, it may be physical abuses, or it may be psychological abuses. But when they undergo abuses, they become so stubborn that there's no one to listen to me. And okay, whatever I say is right, but no one is there to listen to me. So I am always okay, you are not okay. This is what the abusive character students speak out. So the last one is I am okay, you are okay. This is very much well to do students. They feel that fine, we'll just collaborate with among each other, and it will be bringing a sense of well being with much faith and hope that the communication relations are very effective in this. Now, next is gender, culture, diversity, and communication. In this, we see the gender sensitivity is very much, too many workshops are taking place on gender sensitivity. Like, we cannot just tell a girl in a different way and a boy in a different way, because everywhere we see that even in International Women's Day, there was a talk saying that we all are equal. So a relationship between a boy and a girl is sometimes seen with suspicion by teachers who are attempting to build their character, you know. So you cannot say that always a relationship takes place, or a romantic or a loving relationship taking place. There's always a friendly relationship also. So when we speak or suspect in a different manner, the suspicion comes true. So even a comment on the character of girls or boys who are seen sitting together or having a conversation can be deeply humiliating for students and is violation of their dignity. So you cannot comment also, because if you comment, it will be taken in a different way, and the culture is different. When you see abroad, in the abroad sense, people, when even the students, when they see each other after a long time, or after the classes, or when they do something good, when they get an award, they start hugging each other. But sometimes we see that, we say that you're not supposed to do it. So because we will be wrong in that place, because the culture is different, the subculture, the religion, the region, the environment, they have learned this. So they don't think it is bad, but it is an embracing each other. That is what they feel like. Now, creating positive communication climate in schools, how do we create it? It is very much needed. So here in this creating positive communication, it's not only between teachers and teachers, or teachers and students, or student and student, or teacher, parents, whatever. Now, whoever is involved in the school should be given equal respect in order to create a positive communication climate in schools. Whether you say it as a teacher or students or a peon or parents community or a staff in the laboratory, everyone should be given a respect in terms of, in terms of a family. You can say if you are all belonging to Navodaya, then it is a Navodaya family. It's a teachers community in Navodaya, so each one should be giving equal respect. It's not with the hierarchy. There should not be any hierarchy followed in order to create a positive climate, communication climate in schools. So that is what I was talking about. The schools need to be non-hierarchical, democratic spaces where voice of each person is respected. So there is a leadership style. You just guess which style I have spoken of, where everyone is respected and everyone is given a chance to raise their voice, to speak what they feel is right or wrong. Now, schools need to make parents feel like a welcome part of their learning community and give them a voice too. So, a democratic environment based on trust and openness is likely to create a wonderful home school connect, which makes the students' learning experience more warmer and richer. That is what we need to create. So, adding to it, parent teacher communication, teacher, student, even when we see a teacher in the corridor, the way we speak is always checked or observed by a student, and they will also form the type of communication, the way you communicate with another teacher, or the way you communicate to a person in the garden cleaning things. Anyone, the way you communicate, it will be creating a positive communication if you show the respect to the other person. Now, excessive competitive structures and resultant emotional shutdown and withdrawal are the reason why psychological depression and suicides are increasing in schools. So, nowadays, we are not saying that only psychological disturbances or mental health problems are in universities or colleges, but it is increasing in schools too. So here, too much of competition is going on, or emotional. There is no one to see or check the emotional well-being of the students. That has to be taken care. The self-compassion should be working out. It's a way of listening to our own inner voice. The psychological space needs to be created in schools where there is culture of peaceful resolution conflicts. There should not be an argument or a rude explanation given for any type of conflicts, whether it is in a classroom or playground or in dormitories. Now, communication is much more about what is inside us rather than what it manifests outside. Like I was telling before, that it is not to do with others, to be with others. So that is what we communicate with. And here, communication has been identified by UNESCO along with critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration as the 21st century skill that will pave the way to the future that we collectively seek to manifest. So, communication has gone to that extreme where it has been identified by UNESCO, where things has to be settled down. So, hopefully, this communication process will be followed by you all in the school as well as when you are at home also. Now, the second portion comes across as decision making and problem solving. What type of decision a teacher is supposed to make, and where and how? So, when they are supposed to make. Decision making is one of the major part played by the teacher here. So, it is up to the decision of the teacher, the class goes on, decision of the teacher, what type of, you know, topic is to be taught, or the learning process to be taken across. Now, in this decision making is a process of identifying and selecting a course of action from two or more courses of action which is to be taken. So once the decision is taken, you are solving the problem. The problem solving remains there, but until and unless decision is taken properly, the problem is not never solved. So teacher decisions about the content, about the instructional strategies to be developed or adopted, the technology, the classroom management, how they are going to manage the classes, along with discipline, assessment, and all. So, problem solving is the act of finding answers to complicated issues and problems, but both are interlinked, whether it is decision making in problem solving or vice versa. So, solving a problem tactfully involves taking the right decisions. So, if the decision is not right, whether you take a decision, the problem will be solved, but if the decision is not right, so there will be a problem again. So, decision plays a major role here. Now, need and significance of problem solving and decision making. So, what is the need of it? So, there are, it's important for both organizational and an individual perspective to improve our decision making abilities. So, here, having an effective problem solving decision making skills would help. What type of help you will get if you have a really effective way of solving problems and taking decisions? Now, it will make the decisions more rational and wisely. You will be wisely handling it properly. You will be able to recognize that where all of you have a choice about many important things. So, these are some of the things which will be helping you, or this the significant ways of having problem solving and decision making effectively. Now here, there are different types of decisions teachers make. Now, a teacher takes decision about basic teaching functions, planning, implementing, and assessing, where creating a positive classroom environment is needed. So, planning takes place before teaching. What to teach, identifying student needs, defining goals and objectives, deciding the content to be taught, instructional strategies, different type of strategies are there, type of student assessment. A class may have different sections, A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. So the planning has to be there, taken by the teacher before going to the section, because there are different type of students sitting in different sections. So this type of decisions has to be taken. And while teaching also, if they are taken, then what type of implementation is to be done? Now, presenting and explaining, questioning, listening, giving feedback, monitoring student behavior, all this is needed while implementing it during the class hours, during teaching. Like as I was saying, I used to go around the classroom, to see all the students are doing or writing whatever I'm saying or not, or whatever is being focused or not. Then later on, assessing. This takes place during and after the teaching also, assessment maybe through some of the exams taken or some of the project given, or during the class when you are asking questions, that can also be one of it. Now, roles of teachers besides teaching. Is it only teaching that you are? Therefore, there are different roles which a teacher follows, right? So, apart from the decisions about teaching, there are many other types of decisions which are taken by teachers. So, what type of decisions a teacher can take? One is organizational and personal decisions. When a teacher is in the class, or when the teacher is the class teacher, so the teacher appoints one of the student as the monitor of the class or the leader of the class, maybe for a few days or few months, and goes on rotating, or maybe the person remains for the whole year. So this is all personal decision which a teacher takes in the class. He or she did not ask any of the teachers in order to do it. So as a class teacher, like organizational decision, yes, it is to be taken, like deciding about a strategy with other teachers to improve the performance of the students in the board examination before 10th or 12th exams. There are different strategies followed by the teachers, and yes, it is on the beneficial of the organization again as well as the student. Routine and strategic decisions the teachers take. So in routine decisions are those which are repetitive in nature and are adhering to certain established rules, policies, and procedures, like giving assignment, which type of assignments to be given. So after a topic is being taught, so it is the same like whichever year comes across, whereas strategic different decisions are not permanent, it goes on changing, because it is the guideline. Suppose who knew that pandemic is going to take place, and that took for so many months and almost 2 to 3 years to settle down. So their proper guidelines has to be given, proper strategies has to be taken. Even the teachers also play a major role in strategic decisions along with the organization. So here teacher is playing a role. Now policy and operating decisions also. In policy making, they give suggestions or views to new curriculum framework, whereas in operating decisions, they implement. They give the strategies to implement. Operation means it is implementation, right? To the new national curriculum or the framework of your school. Now there are some programmed and non-programmed decisions taken up by the teachers again. So in program, we have to say that it is all systematic way or the procedural way which we take it. Like what is to be done if a student fails in one subject, we have to maintain one program or plan or ways to help techniques and all those. Whereas non-program decision, there is nothing which is related, which takes place all of a sudden. Maybe there is some problem in the examination and the canceling the examination due to question paper leakage. Who knew that it is going to take place? It takes place all of a sudden. So this decisions, sometimes the teachers also have to take, those who are in charge of it. Now, what are the attributes, the qualities of a teacher as an effective decision maker? So, in order to be an effective decision maker, a teacher has to have knowledge. So, they should have proper knowledge of the technology, the ethics, the policies, and main is the pedagogy. So, the methods a teacher should know on in order to go with effective decision maker. The advice seeking good decision makers identify people who can make specific contributions to the decision making process. For their advice and counsel, they should be comprehensive in nature as well as they should be flexible. So, all these qualities should be there within a teacher in order to call themselves as an effective decision maker. Now, what type of decision making process? How will you know, take a decision? So, I will be helping you with some of the points which is very important. So, suppose there is some problems where you land up. So, this will be helping you as a checklist how you can make it up. So, through examining the situations create critically, which can only come through reflecting on one's own actions in the school, you can make a proper decision making process. So, reflective process is a problem solving method again in which individuals or groups analyze routines, procedures, and other aspects over here. And while we take decision, we need to follow certain steps. Obviously, we cannot just go with our own steps and do it. So there are some points which I'll be helping you out where you can take a proper decision, and what type of process you should follow is number one, identify and define the problem. So if there is a problem, whatever the problem is, so first you have to see what type of problem it is. To identify and define the existence of problem or issue to carefully observing and the warning indicators or conditions is the first step. So now I will just go with the next checklist. Sorry, the checklist comes later. So first is identify and define the problem, that the problem which is existing. Now developing alternatives when the problem is already arised and you know what is the problem and you can define the problem also. So you have to go with the alternative. So when problem arises, it's critical for a teacher to be proactive in consulting with important stakeholders. You can take the help of others, after defining the problem, that is there any type of alternatives which can be developed besides this. So once the alternatives is developed, you have to evaluate it. So in this step, you have to know what type of evaluation you have to go for it. And like decisions can be made under certainty, risk, or uncertainty, you know, any type of critical features may come across where as a teacher you must be fully aware of the risk, whether it is positive or negative, and you have to implement it. Now, the goal of decision making in an organization is to fulfill predefined goals, choosing alternatives again. So, as a result, you are expected to consider decisions which produce the results in a stipulated time frame with minimal cost, risk, and consequences. So once everything is done, this is how where these are different processes. Once you identify, define, develop alternatives, evaluate those things, and choose those alternatives after evaluating it. So these are different processes which you can come across along with implementing the decision. Once you have evaluated, then chosen, then you have to implement it. Now, to achieve effective decision implementation, the decision maker must seek and secure willingness and collaborate and acceptance of the desired choice from all stakeholders. They cannot say that whatever I have done is done. I cannot just go on with this. They should have the willingness to accept it. Now, Next is control and evaluation of decisions. Good school management necessitates regular evaluation of teachers' jobs and students' performance to ensure that there are no deviation or distortions from the specified goals. So there are some characteristics which you need to follow in order to control and evaluate about your own performance, about the performance of the students as well. So these are some of the points which I feel that yes, it is important. It's a process of choice and a course of action, and get alternative course of action also. So here, intellectual abilities are needed, the reasoning part is needed, something related to the environment, which we cannot say that everything comes from within, and the time dimension with the purpose, and as well as there are multiple actions to be taken in order to evaluate the decision. Now, there are different problem solving methods or models. So, in this model, here we will be helping you with what type of questions which you can raise, you know, and you can take some of it, you can take whole of it. It is up to you what type of problem you come across. And here there are 5-step model which we can introduce over here. So now the step model 1, it is identifying the problem as we have come across in the process. Yes, this model also says about identifying it. Now, in order to identify, you have to follow few parameters, which I have not explained in the process, whereas it is very easily shown with questions which will be helping you to identify the problem. What is happening and is not happening? So, if there is any argument among the students or groups or anything, so you have to find out the incident that is taking place. What is happening there and what is not happening? Both the ways you have to see, like who are involved, who has the why has the problem to be solved. So why do we need to solve the problem? Is it very serious or will it be solved by itself? What are the stakes? Does the problem have a deadline or a specific timeline? So all this are to be taken, and I'll help you with some more checklist. Yes, this is what the checklist I was referring to. Checklist for identifying, defining, and analyzing problems. So first is this a new problem? Is the problem clearly and precisely stated? What assumptions am I making about the problem? Are they true? So you are judging yourself. You are just taking the problem, analyzing it. What would happen if nothing were done about this problem? Can the problem be restated? In other terms, if yes, how? What data are known that have bearing on the problem? Is the information accurate? Are there any precedents or rules about the other procedures that apply to the problem? If so, what precedents or rules to be followed or applied? This all questions can be discussed among the group or those who are in charge of problem solving. Now, do I have to make this decision? You know, or will someone else? So maybe if there are 4 people involved in it, you can ask, do I have to take it, or you have to take it, or we have to take a decision and we have to follow it up. So all these questions will help you to identify, define, and analyze the problem by yourself. Step 2 is explore alternatives. So exploring alternatives can be in two parts. One is generating alternatives, then only evaluating those. So generating alternatives is very important rather than evaluating. So in generating alternatives, there are some techniques which are followed. So there are 3 techniques as you can see with the underlying thing. One is brainstorming, which is always referred to as the non-evaluative generation of as many solutions or options. It can be done individually or in a group. The brainstorming takes place over there, or you can take the help of survey, which help to tap the ideas of a large group of respondents. Sometimes when we do research, we go with survey records also. or discussion groups which should consist of those who are directly involved in the decision making, no one else. So sometimes we can go with our individual group or in a group basis where we all are entangled together, or sometimes we have to see that what others think. So suppose if I talk about mental health, I cannot just say that the students are going through suicidal issues and this is the reason, or I cannot go with my small group. So here I have to take out a survey where you can get more and more alternatives. You can prepare a questionnaire. You can just circulate it with all the schools. If it is Navodaya, so it can be going for all the branches. So the discussion groups are very much also involved. So here we see that all the groups are involved, and then only we can go with the evaluating ones, not before that. Now the step three is select an alternative. You have so many alternatives. When you have generated it and evaluated all those things, you have to select out of it. So this is the third step and the problem solving model, where you have to select one of the alternatives among all. So once you have evaluated each alternative, then you should stand out as coming close to the solving of the problem here, which is very much seen. So implementing the solution may not be easy. So what type of risk you have to take here is there are four criteria which have to be kept in mind for making the right choice among the available alternatives. So whatever alternatives you have to keep in mind that there is a risk, the economy of effort, timing, and limitation of resources. This all have to be taken into consideration when you are selecting an alternative. It's not easy. Again, okay. So once you have selected, you have to implement. So implementation of the solution, this is the fourth step again. And in this, you have to follow some of the criteria, like you have to develop an action plan. So once the action plan is developed, you have to implement, which requires a series of steps. You have to articulate who has to do what with what resources, by what time, and toward what goal. Identify who must know about the decision. So this implementation can take place with all this criteria again. Then you go with the determining the objectives. So once the objectives are determined, then they have to be measured with targets like used to monitor progress and establish priorities, whether really the progress in the problem solving is taking place or not. Now you have to analyze the situation. There's so many things taking place, right? But this will be easy for you to evaluate it. And there should be some resources where you can include some other people, those who are expertised in this or those who are involved in this. And you can take some data which you have collected from the survey, and you can ask yourself, what resources do I need? Where will I get them? How long will it take? What can others offer? So if you start answering these questions, you will be getting the answer, which will help you to implement it very easily. Are there any special requirements? If it is so, then you have to build up a plan and to show some requirements. So if you are building up a plan, again, help is given to you on that plan, what to be stated, who will do, and what they will do, with whom, by when they will finish, where they are going to do, how. This all are to be included in the action plan. Now, step 5 is evaluate the situation. Now, evaluating the situation takes place in two ways, two parts. One is monitoring progress, whether has changed, has the situation changed, you can ask while monitoring it. Are more resources required, or is a different alternative solution required? So you have to evaluate it by monitoring it first, then you go for evaluating the results. So monitoring the success and results of a decision is an ongoing process. It's very critical to fine tuning a course of action. Now, here, when you go with uh, planning or communicating what you have planned, or going to take a decision, or you're going to solving a problem. So everything is connected with one to one, like dancing in a rhythm. So when a person is dancing in a rhythm, they have to see the coordination taking place. So when the coordination takes place, that shows a rhythm is taking place or not. Okay. So here what I can say is uh, teachers are really playing a very, very big role over here. So when teachers can take care of themselves, obviously they can take care of the students. They can take care of everyone related to them. So now, when I can say that, I will give you some type of case studies where you can understand that what type of you know processes you need to follow. So sometimes in problem solving also, sometimes we feel that why are our students getting less marks? That may be one of the questions. And what are we going to do in order to see our students getting good marks? So I have come across those few cases which I will show you here. Like in this case, Mr. Dilwar is the teacher of a school in Vaishalipuram. The pass percentage of the students of his class in the midterm examination has fallen to 83% compared to 95% plus over the last 5 years. So Mr. Dilwar has to submit a report to the school management on the midterm performance of the school. Thus, he needs to assess why there is a decline in the results as well as how he intends to address the problem. He has 1 week's time to build his case with corrective measures taken. So, how is this case to be analyzed? Now, first step, what he did is Mr. Dilwar digs deep into the issue to understand the exact problem. For that, he did the analysis in this way. So it will be helping you if you are also going to do it, or if you are planning to see 100% performance in your students of your class. Now, what he did, subject teacher, he did pass percentage of the students, he did attendance records of the teachers, attendance records of the students, performance records of the students during the year. Then he went with the previous year's question papers also. Where did the mistake take place? Now, based on the analysis, Mr. Dilba found out that maximum number of students failed in mathematics. Yeah. The class was taught by a newly appointed teacher called Mr. Gonsalves. So here the analysis he starts doing it. So step 3 post analysis. Mr. Dilber did the appraisal of Mr. Gonsalves. In his appraisal, Mr. Dilber checked the results of the unit test to find out whether Mr. Gonsalves made extra efforts to help the students who did not perform well in the past. So these are different things like the checklist and all. So this is an analysis of a teacher, how he has analyzed. Uh, he took qualitative feedback from the students on their interest in mathematics subjects, class sessions, and progress on the syllabus, their perception regarding the difficulty level of how they found the midterm question paper. They sat through the classes of Mr. Gonsalves over next 3 days to understand if there was a scope for improvement in the teaching method of the teacher and how to help the teacher. Now, after post analysis, in the step 4, on the basis of the above exercise, Mr. Dilba found that the teacher concerned lacked sufficient knowledge and experience to teach senior most class. Now, step 5, in his report to school management, Mr. Dilba spelled out his assessment of the result and shared the corrective steps taken by him. Giving the responsibility of teaching the senior most class to a teacher of junior class who had proven record of consistent performance. arranging orientation program for the newly appointed teacher. So now what can be concluded is, you may conclude after reading both the cases here, the teachers need to observe and attempt to make sense of situations by checking their insights against prior experiences. So this is a small case study which I have just opened up to you to for your benefit, to know how where you can improve yourself also. Now here I can give importance to both teachers and students, because the self development is of teachers will be giving self development of the students also. Now here there are so many, the ratio of the teacher and students are really good, but somehow there have been so many things which I have coming across, that the students starts liking the teachers. So when the student starts liking the teacher, in what way they like the teacher? In the way the teacher behaves with them, the teacher responds to them, the teacher shows the leadership style which it is very much concerned to them. Sometimes the students, they start speaking to the teachers more than what they used to speak to the parents. Now, here, the parents may not be knowing most of the cases what the students, what their wards have been facing. Now, as teachers, if we try to develop ourselves with the help of introspection, we can also develop our students with the help of introspection again. There have been many students which I have come across in my case studies, like students have been bullied. Now, as a teacher, if you are taking care of your own classes, you can very well understand which student is at the back of which another student. Usually, when students are very much competitive, you can give an eye over there that are they fine or there are some bullies taking place. So, there are so many things taking place. There are also cases where I have seen that students have become very numb when they come to the universities, or when they are dealing with their own friends and all. Some students, you can see, they're very much quiet. They don't deal with any type of friends. Some, they come and say that, ma'am, I feel very good when I'm lonely. I am not at all you know attached to anyone, because in school they have been doing so. So it's a humble request from my side to all the teachers here, that along with your self development, kindly see the development of the students, because they are the future citizens of our country. And to sum up again here, today is my last class, and I'm really grateful that I have been, you know, sharing my experiences, giving some type of, you know, feedbacks that yes, you all are interested. As a result, you are here for. And I think so, your interest will be developing with the classes that we have come across. So if I come back again, I can just say that here I am able to help you on the self development, which is very, very important in the teaching profession. And I can say that in this, first is understanding your own self. So until and unless you understand your own self, you cannot grow. And in order to understand your own self, you have to go with self identity. And along with self identity, you have to go with transactional analysis, transactional processes. So you have to take the care of others, where, because communication relationship only takes place when there is another person along with you. There should be ego states, as I have been telling that sometimes we are in child ego state, sometimes we are in parent ego state, sometimes we are with adult ego state. So it happens because of the circumstances where we are in. We have to change ourselves, because when we are teaching, we are in an adult ego state. When we come back home, obviously in front of our parents, we are always a child ego state. So, as parental to our children, we have to be in the parental ego state. But sometimes we forget that our ego state when it comes with the circumstances and all. So then we have seen the life positions. You can see which life positions you are there. Is it I am okay, you are okay, or I am okay, you are not okay, or I am not okay, you are okay, or none of us are okay. So it happens with the life position, how we come across. Then we have gone through the leadership styles. Along with leadership styles, there are so many leadership styles which we have discussed in our previous classes. Then our professional ethics, what we have to follow. Yes, I do agree that you people know many things, but when we sit with a class, or when we attend some workshops or so, we just refresh all those things again. And today and yesterday we have come across the conflicts and the stress, how to take care of those things. And today we have come across the communication. How do we communicate? What type of communications are there? And decision making, how we will take our decisions. So the checklist will be helping you to identify, to go with the alternatives, to evaluate properly, and to go with more and more alternatives. Somewhere we need others' help also. It's not what we are stubborn with, because ego states always helps us, makes us go for our own self as well as development of others. So here what I can say is I've completed everything in order to help you develop your own self, and my best wishes to each one of you that you all should excel in your teaching profession. Even when you go for project and all, you can give like self development of all of the students. You can see how they are going to develop their own self, what are the different factors they are going to follow, and whatever you have learned in this ignore classes, you can also apply over there, and you can tell the students this is what will be helping you out. But before that, I would request you all to apply, to implement within you, so that you can do among yourselves. So thank you so much. This is what I would like to say, and I feel great with gratitude to be with you all. My best wishes. So if there is anything which you would like to uh, discuss with or interact with, it's open now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Fausia, ma'am. It's really good to hear from you, because in online we cannot see you all, but we can hear you. But if it is possible, uh, if we can see ourselves, it will be really grateful. Where are you from? And we all are meeting in an online session. And world is round. Who knows? We will be meeting in offline also. It's really good to know about the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm from Fulbani, ma'am. Jane V. Fulbani.
Okay, okay, fine,
Very
fine.
thank you.
Oh, I too am from Orissa. I belong to Puri. So, so I am now in VIT University, heading the Department of Counseling. So it's nice to be with you all. Sujata ma'am, thank you. I cannot hear you. Maybe you are muted. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very nice to see and hear your voices. It's really good. And do implement whatever you learn from this. It will be helping you all in your lifetime. So thank you. So there are, sir, are you available? Dr. Tripathi? Maybe I'll give him a call. So thank you so much.